Greetings, family. Welcome back to the African Exodus show. I'm your host, Tini Cherie, here to you with a new video. Before we get started with today's show, as a reminder to you, if you would like to stay connected outside of YouTube, the best way to do so is to add yourself to my Telegram. There, I post anytime that I upload a new video. That's just the best way to stay connected. Also, just in general, if you want to send a message or something like that. In addition, if you feel led to support this channel, you can do so through Cashapp. You can do so also through PayPal at the link in the description. Also through my Patreon. There I also upload all of the PDFs or articles that I use inside of the presentation. That way you can do your own research on your own time. So we're going to continue on talking about the end time. We're talking particularly from the perspective of going through Revelations. Although there are other end times books, right? So at one point, I really want us to go back through 2nd Esdras and talk about some details. Obviously, the book of Daniel is another end time book. Those are the 3 books that really go into detail about what exactly is going to happen at judgment, what exactly is going to happen in the end times, okay? But we're going to use Revelations because, number one, it's the commonly known one. It's the one most referenced inside of, let's say, end time movies, Left Behind series type thing, right? Most people know the book of Revelation for that reason. So let's use Revelation. And also Revelation gives some really good details that we can use in order to ascertain what's going to be happening. So we started off talking about the 4 horsemen, okay? So we talked about the first 4 seals. Every time that a seal is opened, a horseman appears. One of the horsemen comes with some type of plague or some type of catastrophe that's going to happen. As we broke down previously, we are currently at the 2nd seal inside of our history. There's no proof from what has been taught in Christianity that every time a seal is open, it's a year, right? They taught that this tribulation is a 7-year period. There's no scripture that says that. All they have is interpretation, okay? They interpreted that it's 7 years. However, nothing definitively in scripture actually says that. And you would want something to be clear, right? And unambiguous when it talks about how long tribulation would be. You would not want to rely on so-called scholars and theologians to give you their reasoning and how they piece scripture together. So as we spoke about, 4 horsemen, they're going to come with different plagues. Now we're going to switch gears from the seals and we're going to talk about probably the central figure of the end times. That's the beast that comes out of the sea. Now the beast that comes out of the sea, if you don't know, many people understand the beast that comes out of the sea to be the Antichrist. As I said last time, also, many people in Christianity, mainstream Christianity, also say that the first seal would be the Antichrist. Now, I dispelled that in our previous video. Definitely go back and watch that. But the first seal is not the Antichrist. The first seal actually was colonialism. If you actually look at what happened in colonialism, it fulfilled that perfectly, fulfilled that prophecy. So if we're looking at, okay, the beast from the sea, right? What actually is it? Well, according to mainstream Christianity, they've said that it's going to be the Antichrist, even though scripture actually says otherwise. And that's the confusing thing. Scripture says otherwise, yet people are still peddling this lie. And it becomes problematic because people are getting ready to see something as has been taught to them, not as has been agreed from Yahuwah, not as has been shown from Yahuwah, which gives problems for people who think that they are not in the end times or think that they are far from the end times. But those people will be caught off guard when they realize, oh, this end times thing, this has been going on for a pretty long time. We're going to go to Got Questions again. As I said, it's a Christian apologist website, evangelical leaning. They said, who is the beast from the sea? We believe that the beast in Revelation is the Antichrist, the one who will oppose and exalt himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, so that he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. 2 Thessalonians 2:4. He is also called the man of lawlessness and the man doomed to destruction. 2 Thessalonians 2:3. In Daniel's vision, the Antichrist is the little horn that rises from the head of the terrifying beast. Daniel 7:8. So there's several issues with this particular passage. Number one, when it says Antichrist, okay, we have to understand that there's nothing in scripture that says that there's a single Antichrist. Now you might say, that's not true. Let's just go through scripture. 1 John 4:3. And every spirit that does not confess Yahusha is not from Elohim. This is the spirit of the antichrist, which you have heard is coming and now is already in the world. 1 John 2:18. Children, it is the last hour, and just as you heard that Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have appeared. From this, we know that it is the last hour. So, what we hear from Scripture, number one, is that the spirit of the Antichrist is that which denies or does not confess Yahushua HaMashiach. Okay? That's an important detail because we're going to talk more about this Antichrist spirit and where we see it most. And then also, as it says, there have been many antichrists. Okay, there have been many people, many of you probably have them in your family. Many people probably have them in your circle, right? Who do not confess that Yahusha is from Elohim. They do not confess him, right? So because of that, many people can be categorized as antichrist, particularly when you have those people who are outwardly going out and proclaiming this mistruth. So because of that, we have to look for any other mention of Antichrist in the scripture. Guess what? Every mention of Antichrist in the scripture, it's not talking about the people who they're talking about. Meaning, they say that the Antichrist is he who sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. I've given you my belief on how we can interpret that scripture. I don't believe that this is talking about the Antichrist. I do believe that a lot of this happens throughout Catholicism and Christianity. You have a man of lawlessness, and I went through this. I'll put the teaching down below. The man of lawlessness who goes and actually deceives people. You have the scripture that tells us there'll be a strong delusion. A lot of this gets fulfilled by who? The Catholic Church. When they teach lawlessness, when they teach the people in Christianity that it's fine to disobey the Sabbath, that it's fine to have false images and false gods. It's fine to have holidays giving reverence to false gods so long as you pretend that the false gods are not a part of the holidays and you focus on Yahusha, it's fine. That's what they have taught, okay? And the man of lawlessness, if you look at that description, lawlessness, what is lawlessness? Lawlessness is anyone who tells you not to do the law of Yahuwah. Now, I'm emphasizing that maybe the scripture does apply to some antichrist figure, right? But overall, we can say that there's no specific scripture that says that this description that Paul gives in 2 Thessalonians is actually talking about the end time figure. So that has to be differentiated. Now, I want to be clear. I do think there will be an antichrist figure in the end times. I do believe that. And we'll go through the scripture that says that. But is it the beast from the earth or the beast from the sea? Is it the beast from the sea who's going to be that antichrist figure? I believe absolutely no. And we can go to scripture and I'll show you how that is absolutely not going to be the case. So let's just go right to it. Revelation 13. And the dragon stood on the sand of the seashore. Then I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads. And on his horns were 10 crowns, and on his heads were blasphemous names. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were like those of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. I saw one of his heads as if it had been fatally wounded, and his fatal wound was healed. And the whole earth was amazed and followed after the beast. They worshipped the dragon because he gave his authority to the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast, and who will be able to wage war with him?" A mouth was given to him, speaking arrogant words and blasphemies. And authority to act for 42 months was given to him. And he opened his mouth in blasphemies against Elohim, who blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, that is, those who dwell in heaven. I want to emphasize that part. And blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, that is those who dwell in heaven. Always remember that Yah's tabernacle, Yah's throne is in heaven. His true throne, his true temple is in heaven. Okay, keep going. It was also given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and authority was given to him over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All who live on earth will worship him, and everyone whose name has not been written since the foundation of the world in the book of the life of the Lamb who has been slaughtered. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is destined for captivity, to captivity he goes. If anyone kills with the sword he must be killed. Here is the perseverance and the faith of the saints. Okay, so let's just break this down. What things are we given? What details are we given about the beast that comes from the sea? First of all, we're given this detail that the beast that comes from the sea is given its power from Lucifer. Such an important detail, okay? Scripture tells us that Lucifer is the prince of the powers of this world. Scripture tells us that Lucifer is the ruler of this world. In fact, Lucifer, if you recall, takes Yahusha to a high hill and says, hey, I will give you all of these kingdoms of the earth if you will bow to me, right? But guess what? Yahusha says, no, I'm not going to bow to you. But ultimately, people miss the fact that he actually did have authority given to him for a time to actually do this thing, right? When you see people who are in high reigning places inside of the earth system, when you see people who are ruling inside of nations and empires, understand that they have been given this authority from the dragon. They've been given this authority from Lucifer. And listen, I keep getting comments from people saying Lucifer is not Satan. I will go into that in another video, but you're wrong. Okay, I'll let you know. The word Satan literally means adversary. Lucifer, we're given a description of Lucifer that he was the morning star that decided to rebel against Yahuwah. That is a whole other teaching, but I already know someone's going to comment and say, Lucifer isn't Satan, Lucifer isn't Satan. Satan is a general designation that's given for an enemy or an adversary. We could take from the context that you use Satan in scripture, that when Yahushua is talking about Satan, he's talking about a specific adversary, okay? But that is beside the point. I want to emphasize that whoever this beast is, right? They're going to be given their power from the dragon. The dragon is Lucifer, Satan, the devil, whoever you want to call him, the prince of lies. That is who it is. Okay. Now, I also want to talk about this next scripture because this is the one that people just don't realize. Oh, this is already in the Bible somewhere. And it says that the beast that came out of the sea had 10 horns and 7 heads, and on his head were 10 crowns, and on his heads were blasphemous names. Okay? 10 horns, 7 heads, 10 crowns. Okay? This is literally written in the book of Daniel. Let's go to that scripture in the book of Daniel to see who is the beast that Daniel is describing. So we're in Daniel 7. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel saw a dream and visions in his mind as he lay on his bed. Then he wrote the dream down and told the following summary of it. Daniel said, I was looking in my vision by night, and behold, 4 winds of the heavens were stirring up the great sea. 4 great beasts were coming up from the sea, different from one another. The first was like a lion, but had the wings of an eagle. I kept looking at it. I kept looking until its wings were plucked, and it was lifted up from the ground and set up on 2 feet like a man. A human mind was also given to it. And behold, another beast, a second one resembling a bear, and it was raised up on one side, and 3 ribs were in its mouth, between its teeth. And they said this to it, Arise, devour much meat. After this I kept looking, and behold, another one, like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird, and the beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I kept looking in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and extremely strong, and it had large iron teeth. It devoured and crushed and trampled down the remainder with its feet, and it was different from all the beasts that were before it. It had 10 horns. While I was thinking about the horns, behold, another little horn, a little one, came up among them, and 3 of the previous horns were plucked out before it. And behold, this horn possessed eyes like human eyes, and a mouth uttering great boasts. Okay, this is so important. We can go to the interpretation that was given of the 4th beast. We'll go to that in a moment, but I want you to just take note of a few things, okay? All of these beasts are coming from the sea, and you have the beast with 10 horns. Obviously, this final beast is the same beast in Revelations. Remember what it said, that there's going to be a little horn that's going to be boastful, right? People have said that's the antichrist. I need you to think about what we're talking about right now. 3 horns are going to be plucked out of its place. 1 horn is going to come out and it's going to be boastful, okay? Such an important detail. We're going to really get into who that is more so inside of a follow-up video, because it's so clear what's happening in the world today is all prophesied. But I want you to keep that in the back of your head just for right now. Okay, let's go to the interpretation of Daniel's visions. Let's start at verse 23. The 4th beast will be a 4th kingdom on the earth, which will be different from all the other kingdoms. Let me say that again. Literally, scripture is telling you what this final beast, the same beast in Revelation, is. The 4th beast will be a 4th kingdom on the earth, which will be different from all the other kingdoms, and will devour the whole earth and will trample it down and crush it. As for the 10 horns, out of this kingdom 10 kings will arise, and another will arise after them, and he will be different from the previous ones and will humble 3 kings. And he will speak against the Most High and wear down the saints of the Highest One. And he will intend to make alterations in time and in law. And they will be handed over to him for a time, times, and half a time. But the court will convene for judgment, and his dominion will be taken away, annihilated, and destroyed forever. Then the sovereignty, the dominion, and the greatness of all kingdoms under the whole heaven will be given to the people of the saints, of the Highest One. His kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all of the empires will serve and obey him. And at this point, the revelation was ended. So this is so detailed, and I don't know why people still say the Antichrist is a person. It literally says that the 4th beast, which is the same beast, the beast out of the sea with 10 horns, okay? That this beast will be a kingdom, not a person. Very important to emphasize, because we're going to now jump to 2nd Esdras, which goes into more details about this 4th beast and about this kingdom. Now, I've read through 2nd Esdras so many times. I'm so tempted to go through it again because I just find new things every single time I read that book. Highly recommend that you read 2nd Esdras. Absolutely scriptural, by the way. You don't know, Yahusha literally quotes from 2nd Esdras. It's a prophetic book that he read. So this is a book that you should absolutely look at as prophecy, even though you're told by the people who have said that they are authorized to make decisions for you that this book is not scripture. The book is just so accurate too. That's the other thing about it. But 2nd Esdras, Ezra also has a vision about this same beast, which is remarkable. Now it says, 2nd Esdras 11, on the night I had a second dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle that had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads. Now this is obviously different. The other personifications that we saw were of beasts. We didn't get a real vision or a real detail about how it looked in Daniel. We got more of a detail in Revelation, but it's a horrible beast, right? But the way that Ezra has his vision, he's actually seeing an eagle with 3 heads, okay? And I looked, and behold, he spread his wings over all the earth, and all the winds of the earth blew upon him, and the clouds were gathered around him. And I looked, and out of his wings grew 3 opposing wings, and they became little, puny. But his heads were at rest. The middle head was larger than the other head, but it was also at rest with him. And I looked, and behold, the eagle flew with his wings to reign over the earth and over those who dwell in it. And I saw how all things under heaven were subjected to him, and no one spoke against him. Not even one creature was on the earth. And I looked, and behold, the eagle rose upon his talons and uttered a cry to his wings, saying, do not all watch at the same time, but each sleep in his own place, and watch in his turn, and let the heads be reserved for the last. So, we're going to go to the interpretation it's given to Esdras. It says in verse 10 of chapter 12, this is the interpretation of the vision which you have seen. The eagle which you saw coming out from the sea is the 4th kingdom, which appeared in a vision to your brother Daniel. So important. But it was not explained to him as I now explain or have explained it to you. Behold, the days are coming when a kingdom shall arise on earth, and it shall be more terrifying than all the kingdoms that have been before it. And 12 kings shall reign in it, one after another, but the second that is to reign shall hold sway for a longer than any of the other 12. This is the interpretation of the 12 wings which you saw. As for your hearing a voice that spoke, coming not from the eagle's head, but from the midst of the body. This is the interpretation. In the midst of the time of that kingdom, great struggle shall arise, and it shall be in danger of falling. Nevertheless, it shall not fall then, but shall regain its former power. As for you seeing 8 little wings clinging to his wings, this is the interpretation. 8 kings shall arise in it, whose time shall be short and their years swift, and 2 of them shall perish when the middle of its time draws near, and 4 shall be kept for the time when its end approaches, but 2 shall be kept until the end. As for your seeing 3 heads at rest, this is the interpretation. In its last days, the Most High will raise up 3 kings, and they shall renew many things in it, and shall rule the earth and its inhabitants more oppressively than all who were before them. Therefore they are called the heads of the eagle, for it is they who shall sum up the wickedness and perform his actions. Okay, so this is important because it talks about the last 3 heads. And if you recall from a previous teaching we did, I'll put this teaching inside of the description as well, and I'll put a tag to it. That as far as that, the 3 heads, right? And this is going back. By the way, we spoke about this inside of Daniel. It said 3 of the horns, right? 3 heads. It says that a small head that is boastful will essentially usurp the authority of the 3 heads, right? And in second Esdras, it says that there will be a small kingdom, and it says a troublesome kingdom that will usurp the authority of the 3 heads. Now, if you watched my other teaching that I did on that, I said that kingdom is Israel, the nation of Israel, that is going to be there in the end. I'm going to go back to that. We're going to get into details about what the scripture is telling us about what's coming. But we see the same thing with a boastful head that's going to, or a boastful horn that's going to replace the 3 horns on the beast inside of Daniel. Okay. Now, if you go back, we're going to go back to Revelation 7. And I noticed a lot of jumping around, but it's important to emphasize the general premise of this is the kingdom that we are all living under. That's what the beast is. Okay. And so you also read that one of his heads had been fatally wounded. And his fatal wound was healed, and the whole earth was amazed and followed after the beast. So we can speculate, as we know that each of these heads basically are a kingdom. And we could speculate on what that means, that one of the heads will be fatally wounded. I believe this is talking about basically what's going to happen to the United States very soon. The United States being the last head before it transitions to a Zionist-led world order. I believe that the United States will be fatally wounded, and that Israel, who's supposed to be this messianic country, is what has been put out to people, that some type of supernatural thing will happen where Israel steps in to basically heal the United States. That's what I believe was going to happen, okay? But as it says right here, a mouth was given to him to speak arrogant words. If the beast was a man, he would already have a mouth. But it says a mouth was going to be given to the beast to speak words and blasphemies, and authority to act for 42 months was given to him, okay? So if you think about that, right? Think about the mouth being given to him. Also think about what we see, that there's going to be an image of the beast. We'll get into that whenever we talk about the beast from the earth. There's going to be an image of the beast, and we also a mouth of the beast. Now, I've speculated that this is probably talking about some type of digital AI type thing. Whenever you're talking about a nation being given a mouthpiece, right, and an image, right? So I think it's going to be something digital. Do I know this for sure? No, but this is my strong belief, just seeing where we are inside of this world, is that there's going to be some type of mouthpiece that is going to be utilized in order to ensure compliance. I don't know, kind of like Big Brother type thing, but this mouthpiece would also be the image of the beast, and it would be the representative of this beast system. Understanding the beast system is made up of nations, kingdoms, and that at the time whenever this whenever you have all of these manifestations happening, you're going to have a singular kingdom, that Zionist kingdom, that's going to be the one ruling. So again, I don't want to get too much into that. I gave a lot away already, but I hope you all can understand that this beast that's coming out of the sea, it's not a person. That beast has already been in place. You pay attention to Daniel, you have three beasts that come before it, and then here comes this new beast. In the book of Second Esdras, similar. You have this wing, this three-headed bird, and you see that there's kingdoms that one will come up and one will die down. One will come up, one will die down. One will come up, one will die down. They're all a part of the same beast, but different ones have their time to reign and then have their time to basically disappear, right? And similarly, we're going to see this happening as far as the major power today, which is the United States. The major world empire today, the United States, very soon, scripturally speaking, is going to disappear. It's going to no longer be of prominence. Doesn't mean that the nation is not going to exist, but similar to how you see the Soviet Union, which came up and disappeared. And the Soviet Union was that second head of the beast, by the way, the second horn. The British Empire came up and disappeared. That was the first horn. That was the first head. You're going to see something similar happen with the United States, to where it will still be there, but it will not be this great grand empire as it is today. So all this to say, the number one takeaway that you have to have, the beast from the sea is not a person, okay? If you go to scripture, Daniel literally says it's a kingdom, okay? And from this kingdom, you'll have kingdoms that are going to come and kingdoms that are going to fall, okay? That is the biggest takeaway you should have. And also knowing and understanding that this kingdom is already in existence and already at play, which goes back to the whole premise of what I was saying last time. We already in the end times. We've been in the end times, right? We are coming to, obviously we're coming to a head. I mean, it's been hundreds of years we've been in these end times, but by no means are you not out of the end times or not there yet. This is already happening. Yah's judgment is unfolding. So now it's for us to read, study his word, and have a clear understanding, because more is going to come. More deception is going to come, particularly from the nation of Israel. That's my true belief. So that's all I have for us today. I thank you all for watching. I think next time we're probably going to get into who is the Antichrist. Who is the Antichrist figure? That would be, according to scripture, the beast from the earth. So we'll get into that next time. But thank you all for watching, and Yah willing, I'll see you in the next video.
Zionism had its first organizational expressions in 1897 in Basel, Switzerland, in Europe. Here was a man by the name of Theodor Herzl, H-E-R-Z-L. He was the founder of Zionism. He said that he was going to find the state that God promised the Jews. Listen to this very carefully. This man, Herzl, was an atheist. He believed that there was no God. He said God did not exist. Now, how is it the man who believes that God does not exist is going to find a state that God promised to his chosen people? I tell you, this man is Satan in disguise. Zionism is a satanic movement. It is devil.
Christians don't get right is that Judaism is not the religion of the Old Testament, because after the Jews rejected Christ, and before that also, but in the intervening 2,000 years, they have developed a completely different religion, whether it's mystical Judaism with the Kabbalah or whether it's legalistic Judaism with the Talmud, and there's tension and fusion, and there's an interplay between those things. But they have developed a completely different religion, and Christians have it in their mind like you've got the Old Testament and the New Testament, and the Jews just got off before the New Testament. They got off at their stop, and so they're the first episode and we're the sequel. But it's not true, because they continued to develop a religion, and so you could ask somebody, is the Zohar a Christian text? I mean, how does that have any relation to Christianity? The Zohar came in the Middle Ages. They say it goes back to Moses or Abraham, but the Zohar's got nothing to do with us. And the Talmud didn't come until 400 years after Christ. And they say that, the rabbis have been debating the Mishnah during the time of Christ, but they didn't put it down and they didn't codify it, and, they didn't complete it until 1,000 years later, practically. So Christians just really have no idea what they're dealing with. Even, Candace Owens brought this up with Rabbi Shmuley. this Rebbe of the Chabad Lubavitchers, Rabbi Schneerson, who they worship. And Schneerson is considered a messiah, and the Lubavitchers are everywhere. Kushner's a Lubavitcher. Millet is a Lubavitcher. The Lubavitchers have an audience with Putin and Netanyahu, and they were in the White House. And Schneerson believed that we're not human beings. He believes that non-Jews have no souls and we're not human beings. We're cattle, and we should worship the Jews because they're the ones that, according to the Kabbalistic belief, they're supposed to collect the shards and protect the divine spark. And it's all this nonsense. And Christians just have no idea about any of that.
Antagonism between the Talmud and Jesus. The Talmud attacks him everywhere it can, even his mother. Mary, the Talmud says, was a whore who mated with carpenters. She who was the descendant of princes and governors played the harlot with carpenters. It naturally followed that the scribes declared Christ to be a bastard. In its article on Jesus, the Jewish Encyclopedia says that Jewish writings defame Christ. It is the tendency of all these sources to belittle the person of Jesus by ascribing to him illegitimate birth, magic, and a shameful death. Jesus, according to this article, was considered one of the 3 worst enemies of Judaism who came to an ignoble end. The Talmud says they subjected him to 4 deaths: stoning, burning, decapitation, and strangling. The Talmud also says he is now in hell, punished with boiling hot excrement. What is Christ's advice as he speaks to us out of hell? The Jewish Encyclopedia quotes Jesus as telling us above all to bless the Jews. He says, "Further their well-being, do nothing to their detriment. Whoever touches them touches even the apple of his eye." Christians, as followers of the false prophet Jesus, also deserve death. The Jewish Encyclopedia again recaps the Talmud's position. A Gentile observing the Sabbath deserves death. The testimony of a Christian was not admitted in evidence in Jewish courts, and an Israelite who found anything belonging to one who was a Christian was forbidden to return it to him.
The Pharisees, through the Talmud, thus gave the Jews an ethic which encouraged bigotry and isolation.
Most of these Christians are not familiar with the Talmud, Zohar, and Kabbalah, and where this 613 mitzvot comes from and what they're all about. So I started to study what they're about and what the Talmud teaches, and I noticed that there is actually a plan, there is a plot, and that's a plot against Christianity. Let me bring you one of the books here, The Secret Doctrine in Israel by Waiti. And what it explains is the basically secret doctrine of the Zohar, what is behind Zohar. And you have to understand that the soul of the Talmud is Zohar, and the soul of Zohar is Kabbalah. But in this particular book, I just want to read you a little bit what got me understanding what the plot is against Christianity. It says here, according to the Midrash Talpigoth, the Messiah will bring eternal peace, which of course was understood by the Israelites as peace for Israel, plus that which may follow extermination for all who did not enter by conversion into the house of Jacob. So basically what they teach is that if Gentiles or Christians do not attach themselves to the Jews, they will be exterminated. And of course, we are well known for our Noahide laws that we brought this to a light. So then you go to Talmud and you start reading what is the plan for Gentiles. You see, Judaism is a 2-tier system. Judaism puts the wall of partition back. It's the Jews and non-Jews. And according to Judaism, non-Jews are different species. Now, they are building their own kingdom. It's the Jewish earthly kingdom with headquarters in Jerusalem, where their AI Messiah will be, and they're going to rule the world through the law. You know, it will be international, one law. One religion, basically Luciferian religion. So yes, in a Talmud, this is the Jewish earthly kingdom, and this is why the Zionist Christianity have embraced Kiliism, which is a focus on earthly millennial kingdom. And this is how Jews and Christians are getting together, and Christians are so deceived, thinking that they are working for the good thing, for the Jews, like they're helping the Jews. Jews are supposed to get this kingdom. Yet this is Zoharic doctrine, and it does not have good intention. As I said, that they want to rule the world, they want to get Gentile riches, and they want to rule the Gentiles. They don't consider Gentiles fully human beings, and in fact, as an end game, they have this strange doctrine, Adam Kadmon doctrine, which Adam Kadmon originally was, according to Zohar and Talmud, he was androgynous. It was male-female in one body, and this is why you see this transgender agenda today, and there are laws, very serious laws, passing in Alberta, Canada.
Is Zionism behind the transgender movement?
Yes, it gets its origin in Zionism, and it gets its origin in the Talmud, Zohar, and Kabbalah. It's a Kabbalistic doctrine of Adam Kadmon, which is eventually they have this doctrine called Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. So how do they want to repair the world? They want to bring it to the original. Who was original Adam? He was androgynous. So now they're putting specific things in food and drink, and they're basically their end game is to make humans that on earth that will survive whatever it is they're bringing androgynous.